Hey everybody, welcome in. It's another edition of the Doug Russell Television Show right here on sportsradio1250.com. The Packers lose yesterday to the Pittsburgh Steelers 37-36 on a last-second play. Ben Roethlisberger to Mike Wallace. No, not the 91-year-old 60 Minutes correspondent, but the guy who caught two passes. This one to start off the game.
Fragile. It must be Italian.
And this one to end the game. I suppose if you're going to only catch two passes, it might as well be two touchdown passes, one that set the tone for the Steelers to rack up 503 yards of passing yards, and the other to end off the game and cap a miraculous comeback. A couple of things about the game. Number one, I'm not concerned that the Packers lost the game because they're still headed to the playoffs. The Vikings lost, but because of the Packers lost, the Packers are going to be a wild card team. The Vikings have already clinched the North. All right. So that's over and done with. Packers are going to go to the playoffs after they beat the Seahawks next week. No big deal. But they also needed to be tested. They needed to be exposed for what their weaknesses are. And obviously, there's a weakness in the defensive secondary. You knew that was going to be the case with Al Harris not being available for the rest of the season. But there are a couple of positives to draw on as well. Brad Jones had a monster outing yesterday for the Packers at linebacker, as did Clay Matthews. Now, you knew what you were getting with Matthews. Brad Jones has been a very pleasant surprise with the absence of Aaron Campbell. So there are a couple of things to draw on. The future still looks pretty bright for the Packers. But one of the things that I think that Ted Thompson needs to take a look at is exactly who his two best players on defense, most consistent performers on defense this year have been. Number one, it's been Charles Woodson, a free agent, and Clay Matthews, somebody who he traded up in the draft to get. That aggressiveness is going to get this team to the next level, but there hasn't been enough of it, and that's the only difference that I see between the Packers of this era and the Packers of the Ron Wolf era. There was more of an urgency to win in the past as opposed to the present. Now, if you can take that urgency and rechannel it into the 2010 Packers, 2011 Packers, maybe they'd have a Super Bowl contender. That'll about do it for this edition of the Doug Russell Television Show. Hope you had a good weekend, and we'll be back tomorrow morning starting at 5 o'clock on the Doug and Mike Show right here on sportsradio1250.com, and of course on the radio on AM 1250.
Doug Russell Show. Doug Russell Show.